Well, what is going on, gang? Welcome back to Therapeutic Edge. It's very nice to have you here tonight, or today, or whenever you're watching this. I've got something on the table from the folks at Miguron. It's not really new, but it is an update to an older design that I finally got my hands on. This is the Velona. It is one of my favorite sort of budget-friendly Miguron knives. I've had the original Velona here for a long time. It is 14C, it is steel liners, G10, very straightforward knife, but it is really big. They're about 50 bucks, and it makes me really happy. And I thought, there's nothing they can do to this to make it better, right? It's sort of perfect the way it is. And then they did this. It's simple, but they added this forward choil. On a knife this big, being able to come forward on the blade like this makes a huge difference in using it, and particularly for people with smaller hands. Beyond that, fit, finish, and quality is exactly the same. So they changed the pivot, obviously, a little bit. As you can see, they made it a little bit smaller. But if you liked the original Velona, you will love this one. And at this kind of money, it is worth getting another one. At least I think it is. So let's take a look at what you get. You can go back and watch the original review if you want, or you can hang out and watch me check this one out. The Velona is a very straightforward and sort of simple design, except for the sort of shadow-boxed steel liners. This one is PVD gray, and the liners are all grayed out. Matches the pocket clip. My original, of course, was all blacked out, except for this copper pivot, which I'm not a huge fan of anyway. Beyond that, these are just really nice knives for not a lot of money. As I said, the new one does have a really nice forward choil. Doesn't interfere with the amount of cutting that you do because it is a huge knife. Let's get that out of the way. Let's do the specs. You get 3 3/4 inches of cutting on 4 inches of 14C28N. Grip area from behind the flipper tab on this is 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 4.5. But if you add that forward choil, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.25. It's a big knife. Tip to tail, this thing is 9 inches, right? Action is superb. This one I've had for a long time, and they are equally good. I'm starting to do long-term reviews. I didn't used to do that, but I've realized that it would be worth it. And now that I'm doing this, I may not do one for this, but I will tell you that after having this knife for as long as I have, the edge is held up beautifully. The knife itself is held up beautifully. And now that they've got one with this lovely forward choil and in better colors, by the way, I do like, this comes in a bunch of different colors. They do make a high-end version of this, but for the money, 50 bucks, you cannot go wrong. It's got this lovely fuller in it, which, by the way, means you can, of course, use the flipper tab, or you can just flick this thing all day long. Closed length on the Miguron is 5 inches, right? The in-the-pocket profile's okay. I mean, it's a big knife, right? 9 inches. And so you're talking about less than 1.5 inches this way. So it doesn't eat up as much pocket as you'd think. Although, if you're a dude, you're wearing regular dude pants, there's no problem here. But if you're a woman, women's pockets are an abomination. They're little tiny short things. This probably isn't going to fit. Every other kind of pants that you wear, they'll be fine. I really like the Velona. I think it is an excellent, very straightforward, sort of simple design that is well executed by the folks at Miguron. And this is no exception. Although I do think I might dye these black. What do you think? You think black with the gray might... I could just... Well, I'd say I'd swap them, but they changed the pivot, so I can't. Anyway, the pocket clip is ambidextrous. You can switch it over to the left-hand side, although it isn't a liner lock. You can't change that. It does have a lanyard hole. If you're into lanyards. I'm not, but you might be. They've got you covered. A little bit of jimping right here. A little bit of jimping on the lock bar, which is, by the way, really accessible on this knife. One of the problems with liner locks often is that the lock bar is sort of buried down into the handle. That is not the case with the Velona here. The blade is, that PVD coating is gorgeous, and it is really clean. All right there, I don't know if you can see that in this light, it says 14C28N, but beyond that, this knife is not billboarded, it is not written upon, it is exceptionally clean. I do like the way they did the back with the back spacers, right? So you got these sort of proud liners that are they're crowned, right? They're not sharp. And it's got a nice thick slice of G10 between as the back spacer. It just gives it a really nice feel in hand. How much of that 14C do you get? Let's take a look. The thickest spot back here, you get 3.64 millimeters, which is it's a decent slice. All right, reasonably thick. It's crowned, by the way, so there's no sharp edge here. And of course, since it does have a nice long drop, it does come down to a really acute and lovely edge. The handle is kind of thick, right at 15 millimeters, which is almost 0.6 inches. You're definitely going to know this is in the pocket, but it's not that heavy. There is milling on these steel liners, so we're going to weigh it out and see where that falls. Yeah, 5.3 inches on a 9-inch knife. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. The action's really good. This is just a very satisfying knife to carry and use. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in one. You can get these at Blade HQ and on Amazon. I'll put a link to the actual Miguron site. Here's the thing. In a world full of $300 and $400 super fancy knives, and companies like Kershaw that continue to make some really nice high-end stuff, and then mid-range stuff. Folks like Miguron just continue to make really nice knives for not a lot of money, and that's what you get here. And I think it's worth your time. I know it's worth mine. I don't usually buy two of a knife, but when I saw the changes, I said, let's check it out and see how it's different. Other than the slightly smaller pivot, it is very much the same. But I really like that forward choil. I really do. Metal Complex has a really long sort of look at this. In fact, I think it's even the same colorway, which you can check out. But that's my look at it. This is the Miguron Velona, one of their budget versions. This is 14C. It is steel liners in G10. It is very comfortable in hand, and they're about $50. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the new version. I know I'm glad to have it. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. We'll see you next time.